What's going on, everybody? Jason here. I wanted to bring you a video for the beginner aquarist. I got a few on my channel about filtration and things like that, but I kind of wanted to make a general video for the beginner who's setting up an aquarium for the first time. And these tips are mainly things to not really freak out about. It seems like a lot of time beginners are setting up a tank and doing this and that, and they're like, oh my gosh, what, this is happening. There's actually a lot of things that beginners are freaking out about that are pretty normal. So I got 7 things here that I wrote down, and we'll go over these. So first one, you want to start an aquarium. Don't run. Run. Okay, just kidding. It can be expensive. Okay, so number one, you want to set up a fish tank. Maybe you've seen your family or your friends have one. You want to get into the hobby. Maybe you're freaking out. Oh my gosh, it's so expensive. Yeah, it can be expensive. If you're like me and you're a cheap bastard and you can find deals. So first off, don't worry about the money. But if you want to set up a tank, rule number one, don't buy a tank. Research first. It's hard for a lot of people to do, including me. I'm one to rush out and buy something without thinking about it first. But with a fish tank, you definitely want to research this first. First thing you research, what fish you want. What fish do you want? You got goldfish, you got cichlids. I mean, some states they sell piranhas, whatever you want. Saltwater, I do not recommend starting in the aquarium with saltwater. Don't do it. Start freshwater. So first, research the type of fish you want. Let's say you want some cichlids. That's cool, you want cichlids. Okay, now you know the fish you want. Depending on that size, or the fish, and how big they get, then you want to figure out what size tank. Then once you figure out the size tank, then you want to figure out what filters to use for that tank. I have a whole video on filters, and go back and check that out, and it'll show you how to set those up. So if you want to, so rule number one, don't freak out if you want to set up a fish tank and think it's so hard, it's going to be expensive, this and that. It's really not complicated. Figure out the fish first, the size of the tank, and then the filters that you're going to need for that tank, and how many fish you have. Okay, number two, along the lines of those filters, research the filter. Like I said, I got a whole video on that. You want to match the GPH of your filter to your tank. For instance, I got a 75-gallon tank and I got 2 BioWheel filters on there. They're both supposed to be rated at 350 gallons per hour. I highly doubt that. Realistically, I'd probably give it 100 to 150 gallons per hour, so I'm pushing around 200 to 300 gallons per hour maybe. It's more than enough for these fish. Oh, my Jaguar came out. So anyway, research your filter, and as long as you set it up properly, you shouldn't have any issues. You can always go buy the kits at PetSmart and Petco. You can go buy the kits. I would frown upon that because 99% of the time the filters that come with those tanks are not sufficient. They're crap. That's just my opinion. But anyway. So, rule number two, research filters, and you're definitely going to want to do that. It doesn't matter if it's a canister or it's an HOB or a sponge filter or whatever, just research the filters. That kind of was number 2 and 3 put together. Number 4, I'm probably going to get a lot of bad feedback. You can cycle a tank with a fish. Is it the best way to go? No. But you can. If you have a big 75-gallon tank like this, you can put 1 cichlid in here, set up your tank, put in your water conditioner, and put in beneficial bacteria, which will colonize very quickly on your filters. And if you only have 1 fish in here, you do water changes every few days, your fish is going to be fine. And the reason I say this is most people are impatient, and nobody's going to wait 2 to 3 months for their tank to cycle. I'm just being realistic. What I do if I'm setting up a new tank and I want to throw a fish in, I will literally pour the beneficial bacteria into the filter padding. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to colonize and stick to it, but I think it helps. So number 4, you can cycle a tank with a fish. I'm not saying that's the best way to go. I'm just saying you can do it. If you are going to do it that way, you just, keep an eye on your tank and keep an eye on your fish. Okay. I'm going to mix these up a little bit. Well, no. Number 5, algae. People freak out over algae. Don't freak out over algae. Algae is completely normal. It's completely natural. And unless you put a tarp over your tank 24 hours a day to block every bit of light, which you don't want to do because you want to see your fish, you are going to get algae. A lot of people freak out about it, like, oh my gosh, I can't stand it, it's ugly. Well, you know what? Deal with it, because you're going to get it. People ask, what's the best way to get rid of it? Honestly, the best way to get rid of algae is just to limit the amount of time that your light is on and scrub it off the glass. I don't care if I get algae on my decorations. Whenever I do a water change, I take the plants out and I rinse them off. I scrub the glass and I churn up the sand with my sand vac, and you can see I've got green on there. I have algae in my tank. I don't care. As long as you don't let it get out of control. Algae is normal. Don't freak out. Now, there are some algae that are bad. I believe there's like red algae, which I think is poisonous. I'm no expert on algae, but if you're getting brown or green algae, it's fine. Don't freak out about it. You're going to get it. It's just something you're going to have to deal with, so don't freak out about it. Along the same lines, cloudy water. Sometimes when you set up a new tank, it may be cloudy for a couple of days. Sometimes you may have a bacteria bloom, which may cloud your water, even an algae bloom. I've never had an algae bloom, and I think most of the time that's going to happen because you got your tank near direct sunlight. And if you don't do that, I do have windows near my tank here, but it does not get any direct sunlight. It gets a lot of ambient light, which is one of the reasons I get a lot of algae. But anyway, don't freak out if you have cloudy water. Doesn't mean your tank is bad. Doesn't mean your fish are going to die. Sometimes it's just a natural part of the cycle. Your tank may cloud up, especially if you just put sand in. You got some new filters in there, some new fish. Don't freak out if your water is cloudy. Okay, last but not least, fish dying. Unfortunately, fish dying is a part of this hobby. And just because you set up a tank and your fish died doesn't mean you did anything wrong. I've had fish die. Everybody I know has had fish that die. One of the best ways to conquer this is don't buy fish from PetSmart or Petco. I know I've said in videos that I buy from those guys, and the majority of the time the fish have been okay. Sometimes it's not worth the risk. None of these guys in here I got from PetSmart, and they're doing really good. I have had occasions where I put a PetSmart fish in with a tank and the entire tank broke out into ick. So if you're going to set up a tank and you just want to throw one fish in there and see how it goes, go spend $10 on a fish at a local pet store. The fish will be much healthier and you're going to be a lot happier. But in any case, if your fish die, don't freak out. You're going to have to get used to that in the aquarium world. Fish die. A lot of people will spend a lot of money on the chemicals to prevent diseases or treat diseases or viruses or things like that. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. I will not do that. The only thing that I will treat is ick. If my fish get a disease, I will either let them die or go give them to the pet store, because I'm not investing another $50 to $100 on all these chemicals and treatments and stuff. I love my fish, but they're not a dog. I mean, that's me personally. That's how I look at it. So my advice is to invest on getting the healthy fish first from a local fish store, and that way you're going to have a much better chance of that fish being healthy in the long run. So again, don't freak out. Fish die. It happens. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes you buy a bad fish. So when you're starting out in this hobby, expect the worst and hope for the best. Honestly, that's the best advice I can give. So that's all the tips. Number one, don't buy a tank right off the bat. Go research the fish, then the tank, then the filters. You can cycle a tank with a fish. Just be careful doing that. Don't freak out about algae. Don't freak out about cloudy water, and get used to the fact that your fish may die. You know, follow these things, and you're going to be a little bit happier. Don't freak out if your tank isn't perfect at first. I mean, there's like me. I've been in this hobby for a long time now, and you're probably never going to be satisfied with it. You're always going to want to change things. Okay, guys, that's the video. Thank you for watching. I hope I didn't bore anybody and talk too much. Those are just the quick things that I could think of off the top of my head to help out some of you beginners to not freak out about. These are the ones that I hear the most about. You know, cloudy water, algae, your fish is dying, this and that. Don't freak out about it. It's a part of the hobby. You didn't do anything wrong. It happens. So, for those of you who are new to my channel, I have a Facebook group, Aquarium Enthusiasts. Go check it out. Click add yourself in there. I'll get you in there. There is absolutely zero drama in the group. I will not allow it, and neither will my moderator. So don't worry about that. Feel free to get in the group. We have a lot of good people in there. But so if you're a beginner, I hope this video helped you out. Don't freak out. Alright guys, that's the video. Thanks for watching. You guys take care out there.